BBC reporters that many are carrying the words Je suis Charlie, I am Charlie, and freedom. Others have candles. There's a very sombre mood, we're told. Well, for some more perspective on this, with me now is Maajid Nawaz of the Quilliam Foundation, which is an organisation which challenges political and religious extremism. It's a terrible day, isn't it, Maajid?
Terrible tragedy. My heartfelt condolences go out to the families of the victims, the entire French population. It's important, first of all, to say that mainstream society, European society's reaction to this must be, as we've heard with many of your interviews, must be to stand on the principle of freedom of speech with the overwhelming majority of Muslims who also condemn this attack, to all of us unite and stand together on the principle of freedom of speech. And the prerequisite for that, what that entails, is an understanding that Islam, my faith, is an idea. No idea is above scrutiny. No idea whatsoever. To criticize, to scrutinize, and to satirize my own religion is not Islamophobia. It's what this magazine has been doing, as you've mentioned, with all other faiths and, in fact, with all other political ideologies as well. It's called political and religious satire. Muslims as a people have a dignity. There is such a thing as anti-Muslim hate, but we must distinguish critiquing the religion as an idea and picking on individual Muslims as a people.
And the converse of that, or the reverse of that, is that Muslims can criticize the magazine and say, we don't like this, you shouldn't do it, but there's a limit.
The Holy Quran criticizes every other faith out there, so come on. I mean, and every other religion does the same to all the other religions. So, you know, we've got to be consistent in this. Likewise, on foreign policy, Muslim communities are critical, in many cases rightly so, like the invasion of Iraq, you know, whether after the torture report we spoke about human rights. So after this incident, Muslim communities, again, to be consistent, must start these conversations within their own communities about the medieval blasphemy traditions, the taboos that exist within our communities at the moment.
I mean, your work, the Quilliam Foundation work, is to deal with that small minority within the Muslim community who possibly think this is a good idea, this has been a good day. There are some people who think like that.
There are some people who would act out violence, others who would applaud the violence. Both these categories are a minority. Then you've got a larger section within Muslim communities who say the following: we condemn the violence, but we also condemn the publishing of the cartoons. And my message is primarily to that last group, which are the moderates, to say to them that that's not enough. We have to not only condemn the violence, because that's very easy to do. I mean, how low have our standards sunk if that's where we think that you know, our duty stops there? But all of us, not just Muslims, by the way, all of us in mainstream society have to reassert aggressively the human rights, liberal with a small L, principles that these societies are founded on. If all of us together, including Muslims, don't do that, then we're going to see two things happen in Europe, which I call the crisis of identity that's playing out across Europe at the moment. The first is we're going to see the rise of the far right, who will fill this vacuum and start condemning Muslims as a whole because there's a silence. And the second is we'll see the rise of Islamist groups further entrenching their positions and dividing and pulling back even more so because they see the rise in the far right. And we'll end up with a very, very divided society. The only solution to that is for everyone to stand together, including Muslims, I must emphasize, to start challenging this form of extremism.
Maajid, thanks very much for joining us. Maajid Nawaz there from the Quilliam Foundation. Now, I think we can possibly see pictures from where we hope Angela Merkel and David